so we keep paying out the spaceport. Intergalactic ended up going first. I think they made 26 this year. 24, because they only move forward one. But they got this important dot that earns them a choo-choo, which is again my marker for, hey, they made their run. I'm able to play this dot now because I made the dot here, basically. Which, yeah, I was allowed to make, okay. And upgraded so that I, well, put some track in so that I can get down here where there's a little bit more riches than what they'd otherwise hit. They're not getting good runs, but whatever, you know, grabbing what I can. Righty. Did a couple more companies here. The MV ran for 27 a share, which allowed it to jump over the IG in terms of overall. I don't remember what I did for track. It was probably something really important. It's running this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's the end of it. It's only got a 5 train, yeah. But it already had its yellow, so that's okay. I assume this is the best little spot I can have, hitting that 80 twice. Although this 60 is awfully nice, so I would like to break out to get that. What did I do for track? Damned if I know. I think I upgraded this to get a little extra money. DSE. DSE is really interesting. I was able to run from down here. Let's see, this was an interesting little run. Up, around, over, up, and around. Now, I had to upgrade this track to do it, but I can't play that dot. I've got the dot there, but I'd screw the MA completely if I do that. I know that the ME is not going to screw the MA. The danger, of course, is that the SM, I'll get in there, it has lots of dots and is in control of the same guy who owns the LP, but maybe the LP wants that space open. It's hard to tell. They've got a dot down here for some reason and a fair amount of train. So it may be that this just stays open. It's also possible that this gray tile can go here. Looks like it actually can. It's hard. See, no, I don't think it can. No, that's an UU tile. Never mind. And I don't think there are any grays with 4. Yeah. But definitely track limitations are causing issues. They often do when you're starting to look at, can I get one of the couple of brown tiles that go in here? Here it's 1, 1 of 1, as it is with so much, like 1 of 1 for the greens as well, which is really painful. There's usually at least 2 or 3 of those, of each one. But yeah, and that lets the ME run, which does have dots, but doesn't have the ability to close off the really painful spot. It could close this off if that's important to it. They would like pairing with the MV wherever possible, but let's see. ME has a pretty good train. And I'm coming up to something and I can't remember what the cannon is. I think it's not what's worded here. So let's take a quick look at ME. DSE ran for 41. ME ran for 19. I don't know if I mentioned that. Not a great run. It's got more train available, so if I can hook up something, you know, into here or whatever, I can hit a couple more spots because I'm hitting a space here and I have an extra space. However, and I don't remember what I had to upgrade to make this work. Might have been this, so that I could do this thing. That looks likely. And you can see I dropped a dot for the ME to control getting out of there, which of course prevents other people from working with me as much unless somebody has a run that they want to terminate there, because that track can never upgrade. Okay, now I'm on the MA now, and I'm looking to do something with my big run, and what the hell was I thinking? Yeah, so I can't build here. Building out here doesn't gain me a whole hell of a lot. It gets me some cash right now, and maybe that's the best I can do. But the other thing that I'm looking at is, okay, SM's going to hook me up with shit up here, I'm assuming. And probably not cut me off in a way that I can't lay track, but we'll see. But I can run down this way. This is still open, and I want to leave it open for the DSE. See how that works. Cut through here, and then I get stopped here, and there's no upgrade there. But if I could just slide through there, it would be great. Unfortunately, all these curvies are gone. And what I'm looking at, let's see what I'm looking at here. I obviously cannot lay the track that I want to, but if I could lay this or something like it, maybe a brown upgrades it the way I want it. Of course, that's kind of telegraphing my move. If somebody wants to be a dick, they'll fuck me over if they can. So I look at, this is the upgrading replacement of tiles. The limiting factor here, a company may only replace a tile if at least part of the road on the new tile is part of a route which is open to that company. Well, this is part of a road on the current tile that's part of a route for the company, and any tile that I could place there, including this one, would include part of the tile on the new tile. I don't remember what the 1830 rule is for that, and I don't want to run up and look that up. I'm going to go with the rule as it's written. It may not be what the designer intends. If it's not, then it needs to be written a little bit differently, which is may only replace a tile if at least part of the new road on the new tile. You see what I mean? I don't think that's what's intended, but I don't remember what the canon is. If I did, just remember the canon immediately in my head, but it's been a while since I played the 18xx's and worried about things like that, because usually you don't have to go through all this stupid upgrades. I do remember that happening sometimes in 1830, and there might be others where there's limitations on the track that happen. 1830 has a very low green count. Not as low as this. Okay. Which means now I go and look to see if I have a brown that upgrades it. If I don't, I probably try to figure out, whether I want to spend 10, 20, 40 bucks to hook that up. That's some big money. But it's a one-time run, because as soon as the S&M hooks up, I'll be able to do cool stuff, I think. For me, the little bridge tiles that zoom over and then have a short over here, those don't exist in this game. This tile is unupgradable, so it's kind of not a problem in this game. I don't know how many bridge tiles there are. I think that's the only one. I'm not positive, but I don't see another one out there. But what we're seeing is things that you're used to don't work. So yeah, not finding an easy way through. I could blast my way through this way eventually. Of course, because this is yellow, that starts making this less and less valuable as time goes on. But that may be my best long-term route, or maybe I just want to cash in now. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I would really like to make this little loop. Double track lay, no expenditure of cash. The SM goes in here. 10 bucks extra out of pocket, and I buy myself another gray train, going backwards. But I'm set up so that I can buy a train on the LP, hose over the SM a little bit, but I should kind of break even on that and be able to make some big money on the LP. We'll see. This was the gamble that I was making. I only spent 10 bucks plus whatever stock value I'm losing by buying this shit instead of something else. And the extra share that I've got, that might make a difference, but I don't think so. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I don't know. But I had extra money available at the end. So it's like, yeah, I was going to be sitting on cash, which doesn't make me money. So maybe this works. Okay. The LP runs for 27 a share, which gets it forward. Great. And then we're going to push here. But before that happened, we of course had to do the train purchase. And why this is so awesome, and it works in 1832, you do a starter feeder this way, is that I just bought a gray train for whatever left of my money there is. Basically, I had enough money to lay one of these two tracks. If I had enough to lay both of them and still pay $1 to Space Mining, I would do it and leave Space Mining with even less than they have now. But what they have now is enough for them to buy a dot or maybe lay some track or something. And they will get more money. They have a couple of shares in here. But if I don't have enough to get both of them, well, what it turned out was I had exactly enough to get one of these two, which I couldn't even spend $1 on that train. So there was absolutely no reason not to give all my money away. LP has no way to make any cash in the game. Well, wait a minute. They make $10 a round. Oh, hold on. Maybe I do want to keep some. Yeah, I'm going to keep $35 in here, I think. I don't know. This is really hard. How important is this hookup if I get it? That's the question. It's a couple more spaces, which is kind of rich. Right now, what I'm running for a 10 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if I get lucky, 8, 9, 10, which is beautiful. But what if I don't get lucky? Well, then it may be important for me to shoot right down and ignore the MA space. By the way, I built this because I am counting on that. But it may not work. If that's the case, then I've got a much, much more stunted route and not a lot of ways out with that big 10 train that I just invested in. I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is what I count if I can't make it out. Now, I could sleaze in this way, though. So maybe, because the most I have is a 40. So yeah, I'm going to count on being able to sleaze this way and put all that money in Space Mining. I think they're going to need some cash to operate. And that has gotten all my corporations. We're on there and we're ready to rock for the next round. And yeah, I'm getting $10 a round, but geez, I don't see that as being too viable. And the shit over here, if I'm not going all the way up, isn't worth that much compared to the shit down here, I say. I don't know, because I'm only hitting one of these, so I really don't know. If I come down this way, it's really not bad at all and may actually compete with this. But only being able, if I could buy both hexes, yes. If I can only buy one, not so much. Of course, I could upgrade this and then upgrade this and go in there in conjunction with someone else. I don't know. Maybe the upgrade for this, maybe there aren't enough. Although that thing should do it. It's just a matter of, wow, you have to do so much calculation, on the geometry, trying to figure out what other people are going to do. I can't do that shit. I just can't. Although I used to play with people who didn't really intentionally do it, but they would hold the piece that they wanted to play. Because these are the people who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to figure out my entire turn, 2 turns in advance or whatever, and they're holding that piece, and I don't have that piece available when I look through the tiles. And I'm like, what the fuck? And instead of counting where all the tiles are and everything, some asshole's holding that piece. Yeah, that probably cost me a game one time. But anyway, let's, I guess we keep rolling, but I am not sure I'm going to be able to do another round this night. Start a new round, and the MV has upgraded this tile, which should probably create $10 more from the last run in most XX games. But because there was an upgrade here, maybe, I'm not sure. Whatever happened, something happened. I end up at the same 27 a share. And my initial thought was just, wow, I must have fucked up. But I'm not positive with this game. There could have been 2 upgrades here, quite possibly, that took it up from, I think there were actually, from a 40 down to a 30. So I'm just like laying track to stay even now. So the DSE just upped its value. Running not quite like that, up this way. Couldn't go to this one, that would be a track too far, but slides over here and then down and then up and over, and I think that was 10. I counted it a couple of times, but we can always be wrong. That ended up coming to only 36 plus 100 for the link up. Before I had like 41. So there's got to be more meat lying around somewhere. Although I don't know, because some of the tracks have upgraded to brown that degrade them. But yeah, and remember, I think I was able to come by and hit one of these, which is a big hit. I mean, an $80 for that versus the 100 for this. Immediately you start seeing, wow, those big runs, they're not worth if you can find a centralized location of black spaces. So like, if these could have all been kind of connected up, but so far there's no linkage across here, and were that to happen, that would really help INT, but no one else. Anyway, that was a big enough run to go forward to, and now we'll be on the INT. Big thing being, DSE doesn't want to throw a dot down because it hurts MA, and MA is also sitting on a 10 train. There are other corporations that don't want the dot down too, but they may want it more than that. But one of the problems is what I pointed out before. This might just fit there. I don't know. No, this is a double doink. Yeah, there's nothing that opens up another dot. We've been through this before. There's no 4 dots except for the double doinks. Yeah, okay. We're going to see a dot be played, but Intergalactic doesn't have a dot. In particular, I have this run available. Actually I can do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have a 5th to there if I want it. Now I've got to compare that to my other possible runs, because I got other shit I can do, like maybe break in this way. Intergalactic's got its yellow. This is only a 60. These guys are 80s. If I do things right, maybe I can even hit them twice. Although I highly doubt that. I don't think there's a green. Well, but there might be a brown, and who the fuck knows? Because it's not following the canon of normal track. Yeah, I say normal. What I mean is that 1830 classic track, but what I really mean is this game is lacking some track that you expect, and it's got additional tracks that you don't, so you really don't know what you can lay down where until you've played it a couple of times. And even then, because there's only one of each for the most part, it's really hard to tell. You know, even if you've played it for a while and studied, hey, is this track lay possible? It probably isn't, because you probably don't have the upgrades. You probably don't have the upgrades to get you there to the brown. You don't have, you know, it's just, wow. The track is just so tight that it's very unlikely you're going to find what you need. In this case, it was staring right in front of me. Yay, it didn't have the straight track going down there that I wanted. But I did a curve out of here. Remember, this is open. You can run through it. So now I've got a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which hits, you know, 3 $80 spots and a $60 spot. On a little 5 train, I'm running a 32 run. That's pretty fucking good. The end game track life for this is very exciting. Yeah. It may not seem it to most people, but to me, it's feeling more interesting than most. There's a lot of upgrade capability, even though it's hard to find the upgrades you want. At least in this playthrough, but I think in the other one as well. There's a lot of capability to keep extending your route, and sometimes potentially quite a bit. I was having trouble because I was focusing on the edge-to-edge thing, which maybe if you have a 10 train makes sense. But here, the MA is running from here, and I upgraded and bought the dot there. That brings one thing up. The dots, the costs being over here instead of over in your player control sheet, and maybe the stocks, but the actual dots too, but the costs of the dots being there is a little difficult, but they're all the same, so it shouldn't be too big a deal. But I did find myself, going from over there to over here and then back over there to pay, which I have to admit, the way I've got things set up here is definitely worse than most games of 18xx would be. Normally you'd have people sitting around the table, each with their corporate holdings near them, and they'd probably be able to see these a little more easily than I could. I just couldn't remember if the second one was 40 or 50. But it is pretty easy, 25, 50, 75. But anyway, this big run coming through here, because there's no dots, and then sliding down and using this shit. Good run, 42, like I said. And that'll get us over to the next one. Somebody's going to probably drop a dot at some point, and it might just be the fucking SM. Although, if I recall correctly, the LP, the LP's got a big train now, so it's not the SM, and the LP doesn't have dots, so it can't say screw the SM, Neat. ME and MV working together. It's time to shut down some of that fun, and we're gonna run, I think it's this run. I'm trying to break in up here because I can skip this space, which is not the most valuable in the world, but it's not terrible either, so I don't know. There's not a lot of opportunity, and that runs for 32, which is a big jump from 19. So we made a big move forward with that run, and that puts us to LP. A little painful because it's sitting on a 10 and a 6 train. Well, the 10 train we've already calculated out. It runs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're not sure which way we're going to go. 9, 10, which is pretty good. And we know what that's going to run. That's whatever the DSE ran, like 46 or something. That's sweet. However, the 6 train becomes much, much harder. Now that 6 train is going away. It's going over back to space mining or whatever. But right now, what can I run off of it? Well, if I don't hit this space, I might be able to do something interesting. Like I could go 1, 2, 3, and cut up this way with that, and that means I hit that one. So what was I saying? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is pretty fucking good too. So that's probably what I'm going to do. That all works out to be a 75 run. Unfortunately, I don't have the track that could upgrade this. Because of the way that's facing and what's available. That would go off map. Yeah, everything went off map. Well, wait, maybe this didn't. Yeah. They all go off map. And because that would have been an extra buck. And, it would be forever. But right now, there's nothing that's going to upgrade that. And I don't know if there's anything out there that will. This thing would, but that's going to be hard to upgrade because that exists. And that's the only upgrade for that. And there is a gray that upgrades that, but nobody terribly wants to play that gray because it'll downgrade the value. And that's one of the other things. So normally, there's no harm to upgrading track in an 18xx game. But in this game, at least for the cities, there's a reason that you do not want to upgrade certain track, which kind of sets it in a freeze position because somebody else would have to upgrade that track for you. Cities often get upgraded automatically. You know, other people just do it for you. But you'd have to make the job of upgrading something hurting someone else, and in this case it is LP that gets hurt among others, in order to get that other track. Somebody else might be willing to do it, but 2 track lays that are both upgrades, there aren't enough operating rounds left unless the SM wants to do it. Speaking of which, the SM's buying a 6 train off the LP. And did I fuck something up? I did not. Not that I know of. Yeah, they're going to buy that train. So we're not going to see that 75 run. We're going to be seeing a 45, though. Unless something changes. Nasty. There aren't a lot of dots left to play with. And the SM actually isn't trying to hurt the LP. It's one of the few people with dots. So it'll try to figure out what to do with a 6 train. Whoop whoop. Much. That buck I left on the LP, that's killing him. Otherwise, I could lay these 2 tracks and get down here. I can still do it, you know, over time, I think. I'm not even sure. Well, yeah, because I wouldn't. If I do it one at a time, they're only $10 each. Plus, maybe the MA wants to do it or something. But I can't just do it for free. What I'd really love to do is cut through here, and this would probably get upgraded to a valuable level, and I'd be hitting 2 black areas, although it's getting too late in the game to get it up to a gray. But the problem there is, although there's a sharp turn, there's no straight piece to get me there. So, you know, it comes down to, would I want to do a curve? And then there's no sharp hook. There's only 1 piece of yellow track left on the board. And this is meant to indicate shortages, you know, in terms of what's available to build on the moon. There's an initial load of stuff, and like you start getting shortages. I don't know what it means, because when you upgrade to brown or whatever, you free those up. What's going on? There's only 1 rocket coming in. I just don't know. And we end up playing the only track here. This is our only way out other than this, which only gets us 1 hex. So it's less valuable. And threw a dot down because LP doesn't need that dot. I don't know that anybody needs it, so it was probably a waste. But I would hate to get cut off there. Honestly, this is the dot I really, really need, but I can't afford to play that one. That fucks the LP, and I just don't want to do that, even though there's a lot of people with shares of the LP. I'm okay. Oh, and I forgot to buy my thing. Let me spend $5 or $4 to get that last train, just so that I have a fair amount of money, an amount that I don't know. I don't think it matters, but I certainly don't think I need that other $1. But you can see there was a nice mechanism here where the SM went first, bought a train. The LP was able to buy the train from the SM because it goes afterwards. But in falling back to buy that train, the SM got into a position where they're now going out, and the LP going forward, they're now going after the LP. And if you can arrange something like that, you can cause neat things to happen. It is a lot better in 1830 to do that kind of play than what I'm seeing here. The problem with here is I don't really ever have the opportunity. Well, so I would have the opportunity. If I left the SM in a position where it's not a good company after doing that, and there were more operating rounds, it doesn't matter in the last operating round, but if there are more operating rounds, you can put yourself in a position where the SM is something nobody really wants to own, and then you could throw your extra shares into here. But the way I had to finance it meant that I can't get rid of the shares. There's 40% in there, and I kind of don't want to lose the stock value. So yeah, just a bunch of stuff, a bunch of reasons that you're less capable of having a feeder line. And then you also don't have, although you have the come screaming out 2 steps, not 3 or 4 or whatever, which it presumably could have done with the grade train and good track setup and everything. In I think it's 1829 that allows you to go at least 3 steps, and maybe 1853. Then, you're able to kind of make up for everything. Well, 1830 has its own mechanism for that, which is the yellows and browns down here, and red, I think, which maybe it's just yellow and brown, which allow you to like pick up a lot of the shares at once while the company still looks questionable, and then you can save that company at that point, and all kind of cool shit can happen. And meanwhile, while it's sitting in here and you're running, you're able to make more money. Even though you don't gain a lot of stock value, you can pick up a lot of stock all at once, and it doesn't count against your certificate limit and all kind of stuff like that. So that there's just differences in each game, and this one seems to focus less on certain kinds of manipulation, but there is an enjoyable end game manipulation going on with the track tiles I'm finding and the dots. And I'm not quite sure how to put my finger on it. I think it has to do with things are nicely connected. There are a lot of ways to get from here to there. But it is a little bit of a puzzle, and this is something I'm not sure how much I like, about finding how to make that hookup because of the limitations of the track. If there was more track, it would be just too easy. But I don't like that lack of track aspect. It always disturbs me in some ways. It's always disturbed me, for example, that, well, how come I got straight track or curved track and I don't have sharp curved track? Why, what's going on? What is that limitation supposed to represent? I have no idea. It's so abstract. Well, here you could maybe say that these are prefab tunnels that are coming in and everything, and so that's totally different. They only bolt together one way. You can't turn, because these each have their own little turn radius, and these have their own little turn radius, and you can't mix and match. I find that hard to believe, though. You could mix and match straights and curves and make a wide curve or something like that. So I don't know if there'd be a way of doing that with like double-sided pieces. If you can turn a sharp curve and a straight into 2 wide curves in the mix. And it's kind of like this trade-off that you can do at all times, but it would be a pain to keep track of, so probably not worth the effort. But it would add another layer of complexity to the track. Okay, so the good old DSE goes, and it does some interesting things. First of all, I found my best run is still coast to coast, or whatever you want to call it, across the crater. Through the rocket launch, yup. So far, Space Mining is the only one that doesn't connect yet. So it has a real potential problem with that, although it looks like unless this dot gets filled, and that dot is going to get filled, so I may end up getting hosed in terms of stock value for that. Which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, look, it's valueless, or it's at 10 or whatever, something like that. So yeah, it's going to end up a major problem if something doesn't change. Of course, if this had an upgrade, it would have gone to gray by now, and things would be very different in the world. The fact that it doesn't is probably a design problem, an error in the design, rather than something that's intended. There seems to be something wanky about those double dots. I upgraded this. Again, I'm not sure how legal this is. But it's not running on new track on the new tile. The wording of that is a little different. Any track on the new tile is basically what it's saying. Well, it says track on the new tile, which again may not be the intention, but that's setting up an opening. Not a very good one, but an opening for MA among 2 things. This, unlikely. Somebody else has to help them build that and not take the advantage still. But it opens up a straight track. So now there's 2 tracks, and this could get set up, even if it's not by the MA. Because the MA doesn't go for quite a while. The other thing is, these are the 2 corporations I own. MA can drop its dot there before SM goes and really kind of screw SM over completely, as well as anyone LP potentially could get badly hurt by that as well. Their big run is going to get slaughtered. Which, again, is that the same person? Yeah, it's the same person who's going to get hosed. They've got a lot of cash. Not as much stock value as you would like, though. The LP is the trailing among all the original guys, and then I've got a bunch of SMs. So that extra cash is kind of the difference between that. Maybe less than the difference, or maybe, yeah, less than that difference. They may be getting hurt more, which means that second corporation did not bail them out, and it certainly won't if I lose all that stock value. But I am not opposed to the idea. All right, onward. Fair amount of studying of the track and whether I could do anything particularly useful. And I'm not really worried about trying to help someone else who I hold shares in. I'm not worrying about that. I'm worrying about, can I hurt other people by playing a dot? Or can I help up myself by making a little bit of increase in my run? Neither case was applicable for the next two companies, the MV and the Int. Their runs changed. MV I've got at 29 a share. Int dropped down to 27. So, there's a lot of turbulence in these prices as the dots and the track lays come up and everything. Notably, one thing that I didn't do with either of them was I didn't eat up the track that's out there, which is going to be a big bonus for the MA, actually. Such is life. If he wins by, this extra, and that's big, it's an extra $8 a share. It's not actually that, though. Those dots, something. Probably what's going on down here. Hurt the MA a fair amount. It dropped down from a 42 to a 39, only hitting 9 cities. And instead of building this track, they built this track. Why is that important? That's a good fucking question, isn't it? Because I can't cut through here. So I picked up this city instead, and that is worth 50. Instead, I could have, wasn't able to build this in there. I would love to, but I'm not able to because of the tracks not being there. I could have cut down from here, which would mean I would lose this, which is worth 30, to gain an 80. That would gain me 50. And then I wouldn't hit this. So overall, this was actually slightly better for me, even though the setup over there was trying to build things out for me over there. It just turned out that this was the better run. That was a push forward twice and a dicky dot to hurt the LP just for the hell of things. And that puts us to the ME. I don't mind this period of play so much when I'm playing solitaire, but I really do hate it when I'm playing opposed. The game's usually in one sitting, and our groups tend to play long, just because we're slow, or whatever. I'm slow, people I play with tend to be slow, at least at certain points. Sometimes it's pretty quick, as opposed to, the person who's sitting there holding a tile in their hand, not showing it to you, knowing what their turn is going to be, and essentially cheating because of it. Different strokes for different folks. But anyway, after a lot of analysis, what I came down to was this, and I think this game is actually a little so, knowledge of track, if you're really, really inherently attuned to a particular XX scheme, like 1830, or like ones that have a similar set of tiles, you're more prepared and you can make your decisions more quickly. I think there's going to be a little bit more analysis paralysis in this one because the tiles are different, because the limitations on the track mean that you have to think these decisions out a little more. Take that whichever way you want. Anyway, upgraded this, which is shitty for this space, but it let me put my dot in there, and more importantly, it let me run through there for an extra $20. That got the MA to 39, which is still a major drop in value, but with all the dotting going on, that's fine, and it was enough to push it twice. And now we see how far the poor LP has dropped. It went from 27 to 75, and now I don't know where it's going to end up, but it's going to have a hard time getting that 10 train It's not going coast to coast. It's not going across the crater. So conceptually, the LP could help the SM. I did not see a way around it. SM doesn't have cache, which is part of the problem. I didn't even consider some options like, hey, if I open something, well, not there, but if I could open something here, could it possibly? Well, it couldn't. If I could open this, they could get down this far, but they're still not going to get into that rocket pad. And so instead I went with a quick upgrade, which got me an extra buck a share, which was down to 47, which is not that bad at all, actually. Part of the reason being that I was able to run something illegal. Crap, I ran through there. Yeah, I could not get here. I don't know what I was counting. All right. It's because I have this fucking dot down here that I think I can do something here, but I couldn't. Now, if I open this up, I can do something. So let me redo that. I'm actually really, really good at missing the fact that I can't make a certain run that I think I can. I think a lot of people are. It's not intentional or anything, but it's just very, very easy to fixate on something, and especially if you've got a dot like that over here. It might help that the MA dot over here never got used much. It looked like a good idea. I cheated twice so far, and once I caught in time that it didn't count. One of them is bad, plus some rules mistakes. That's not bad for me. That got me down to 38 a share, which was still enough to push twice, and now it's time for the good old SM. And at least it's only got a 6 train and not the 10. Really bad to go really, really late in the final round when everybody starts throwing their dots down that they have left. Because here's the point, one corporation goes, and then your other one, like here, is like, MV doesn't have to run. Well, no, DSE doesn't have to run again. We don't care. We'll close this out, whatever, And that ended up, for whatever it matters, running for 19 a share. There was no consolation prize even. I couldn't even get this hooked up because that would be 1, 2, 3, assuming there were tracks, which there aren't. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only have a 6 train. I couldn't figure out anything that would break me in and do me any better than what I did. This thing is not worth much. So this is actually worth more than that, even though this is shit. And I couldn't even make it there. I cheated again. These tracks, they're just so alien to me. I'm like, I know hey, you can't do that with Brown. You can't necessarily backtrack in all the cases with Brown like here, although my tendency is to. So let's see, this thing's worth 20. I lose 10 more bucks. So make that 18 a share. And I owe a few bucks from here, $4 or something. It's not going to make a damn bit of difference. He's pretty hosed because even though I shot up there in stock value, that is the one corporation that did not make it. I guess I could split these so that I can see them all. That is the one corporation that did not make it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to leave it at $10 a share because there's no instructions of what to do. But it's basically valueless. It's worth $40 now. I paid $360 for that, so I lost $320 plus, however many runs I did not make off other corporations. All that for what? Well, for moving a 27 run up to a 38 run one time, and for one time where I got one hell of a good run, but I shared that with everyone else. This is the only guy, and he's out of the game. That didn't help. So once again, we're seeing two cases where starting a second corporation just did not work. And I'm beginning to get the feeling that you almost never want to start a second corporation in 5 players. I would guess in 3 you probably do. Just as a matter of course. You're going to have a lot more money, a lot more play, and there are less corporations out. So the trains aren't going to fall if everybody just sits on one corporation each. And eventually you're going to reach, you're going to have all the valuable stocks and have nowhere to put your money, which is another case that happens in XX, but it did not happen here at any single point. No one was ever in a position where they were like, there's nothing out there I want to buy. I guess I'll start a new corporation. That's a feeling that comes up in 1830. It is not happening here. Now it's time to do the spreadsheeting. We got the cash already there. I'll finish that up and chatter a little about that. After some spreadsheeting, and I used a calculator that's kind of crappy, so I may have made a calculation error. Who knows? Don't look too carefully. We see what's happening. And player number one, yeah, we knew they crashed hard, and they're still coming out with some value, no question about it. But they're not in the running. But everyone else, you see kind of that's kind of close. One thing to note, though, the guy with the most stock is the guy with the most cash. Therefore, they end up winning, which is player number 3 over here. What did they play? They ended up with a second corporation, but they stole it at, no real cost to themselves. And getting themselves a second bonus share for having that extra corporation, so they made more money off that. None of their corporations ended up with the big trains, the big runs, the huge money. Stock value wise, well, everybody's kind of close in stock value. The DSE is the one that did really well in stock value. So, whatever limitation we see there. But on the other hand, MA is a little worse, and that was his stolen company. And if we look, lo and behold, the other guy who managed to steal another corporation from the one poor luckless fella who crashed, came in second. But who came in the worst positions? Well, the guy who crashed by starting 2 corporations early, and then significantly, behind the leaders. We got 200-point distance basically between each of the 4 top players. So that puts him 800 points out of the lead. Pretty far back. He ends up kind of hurt, and would probably have been in a closer run if he hadn't bought this. How much better? I don't know. What impacts would hit the stocks that he bought, that he was holding, that he sold and let other people get? What did they have on everything? I don't know. It's tough to see. One thing we do see is Intergalactic here, showing a good mixture in the range with everyone else. But man, what did he not do well with? Well, he's 1 share behind. That probably was a fair amount of the difference. He also wasn't doing all that well to begin with. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's a certificate more behind because he was so low on cash he could not buy that extra certificate. So he was not doing well before going into these final rounds. I'm not saying the final rounds decided everything, but I think these 2 extra purchases, having the cash to do it and the capability to do it, was a really good thing. Especially when somebody goes and slits their throat. But this guy obviously wasn't doing too well over the course of the game. What did he do? Well, he only ran the Intergalactic. What was so bad about the Intergalactic? It's in a nice, it's in actually probably prime location in the game, to tell you the truth. This never got developed, which may be part of the problem. But this didn't get hooked in. That was one of his options, and he just never made it in there. I don't know what the hell he was doing. One thing I can say, this little DSE trick to try to double up there, screw it, I should have just dropped it here, made more money early on. Never played around with that shit. I put way too much effort into trying to build that thing. It never panned out. Somebody ended up fucking dotting me out anyway. It just was not a good thing. And if it could have upgraded to brown, because it's a yellow cube, it would have decreased in value anyway. I would have been much better running my 2 trains out of here back when I from the moment I could, let somebody else tag along with me. But I gotta say, that makes that research thing really questionable. Like, where would he have been safer putting it? I don't know, maybe tucking it away back here or something. It's really no, it's the DSE we're talking about. I mean, I don't know. So many people eventually came in here, but no matter what, he would be sharing it with someone. And that's the problem with it, is, yeah, you might be able to capitalize on it more, but everybody else gets to ride it, gets the bonus for it, and it's hard to hide things in this game. It turned out fairly easy to shut one person out. There was some question whether Intergalactic would make it. That is why this dot was here. And that's part of the thing. Intergalactic's trouble. Wow. Honestly, I'm not sure I was legal anyway. I'm looking at this track and I'm like, how did they get this dot here? Oh, they got it this way. And then we're able to start doing the funky runs. And that allowed them to place here. So their track was just never set up correctly to run trains right. And they had to spend a lot of effort trying to fight other people's track lays, I think. One of the more interesting things was how this panned out. And this should be the same kind of niceness, although it's a yellow instead of a black. The fact that this is a black cube on here is what makes it so fucking great. Because it's hitting two cities with a black cube. It's hard to tell, you know. I always find myself kind of stunned at a wrap for an XX game where I'm really not able to draw. I mean, I can draw some conclusions. And overall for this game, one of my conclusions is don't invest in a second corporation unless you are so sure it's going to work. Because so far, out of the two plays, all four players who have tried to buy a second corporation have ended up regretting it. And in some cases, in 3 of the 4 cases, I think they had crashes. In this case, it was a planned crash, right? You know, that was all intended to happen the way it did. But there was no intention to end up losing all my stock value, and I don't think it would have been worth it anyway. Let's say my stock value is here or whatever, 110. So that $40 that I made off of those would be an extra 400. So player 2 would have like an extra 400. Well, you know, that would put him back probably about where he was before. Then throw the runs in. If it worked out, it might have not won him the game, but might have done him very well. We can see the majority of the money that he was going to make, he did make. So then the question is really, you know, it's one run that I would have made. So instead of here, we're talking about $400. Yeah, that's pretty big. Instead of here, it would be 4 more shares, and I made like, let's see what my run was. SM was a 19. I could probably make like 6 or 7 more bucks if I was lucky per. So say another $30. So that's not going to make much difference. The biggie is I wouldn't have lost ground the way I did by taking the risk. I thought it might pay out better, but one of the reasons it didn't was those big trains didn't last at the end of the game. They got cut to shreds, and you know, I might have been better off not juggling. But then that was the whole purpose. The whole purpose was LP had good track, SP did not, or SM did not, and there was just no way to go for it. I guess I'll come back with a recap. It's kind of weird because the whole purpose of this is different, but it still seems like there should be one. It's always, you know, here's the thing. I'm assuming that the designer of the game is looking at these videos, because, you know, by sending me the game, essentially paid for them, you know, is looking at these videos for the insight that I can give during this limited kind of playtesting that I do. And trying to capture them kind of carefully. And I'm really not sure that the kind of gestalt overview that I give can give much. So why don't I do it right at the end of this instead? I'll swap batteries, and because I think it's only going to be like 10 minutes or so of talk. I mean, you don't need to see my face. All right, I'll clean up and be able to talk about it a little bit.